Dolby Vision. 바로 시작을. 저거 좀 내가.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
왜 이렇게 렌더링이 있나? 렌더.
Someone had put up a chain link fence, but it looked like I wasn't the first person to hop it. My brother Milton disappeared when I was 4. It was like the house just swallowed him up.
렌즈가 없네. 방이 여러 개 있는데.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
절반은 들어가지 못해. 대저택인데 프레임이 왜 이렇게 구려? 왜?
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
1년 전. 주인공은 여자인 것
I
같아.
hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
루이스 오빠의 장례식에 돌아오잖아. 장례식이 치른 이후로 오지 않을까. 아, 30분에 프레임가 좀 있는데.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
루이스가 뭘 여는지 알려줘. 그만을 위해서. 여름에 남기지 않고.
Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
좋아하네. 연락길 있을 텐데? 밑으로 가야 될 것 같은데. 위로 가볼게. 가야 될 것 같은데. 딱 가야 되나? 이게 너무 쉽구나.
The truth is,
씨.
even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent, as if they're about to say something but never do.
달리기가 안 나.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
이거 진짜 프로그래서 왜 저렇게 지 탑처럼 약간 위에 오른쪽에 끝나면 탑처럼 좀 올라가겠다. 저거 오리처럼 생겼네. 이거는 있네.
I asked Edie
Really?
once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband. I was 6. It seemed like an odd joke to me even then.
외국인이야. 오른쪽.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
아, 이런 데 오기 싫은데. 좋아. 근데 나은데. 어떻게 하는 거야, 이거? 아이씨. 어디로 들어가는 거야?
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
강아지가 출마가 쉽다.
The power had been turned off the night we left.
이 집을 급히 떠난 이유가 뭘까? 이렇게 좋아요. 이렇게 큰지. 크다는 건 가족들도 많이 살았다는 거 같아. 쉽게 만드는 것 같아.
For the first time in years,
2010년? (2010년에서) 중단돼 있네.
I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
딱 한 식당만이 집으로 배달해줬대.
Or how after Louis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
그래, 진짜 혼자 계속 받아. 엄청 동안 가게도야?
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
와, 이것도 막 쓰레기도 먹다 남은 그대로 놔두고 가.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank. Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house. A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night.
마시멜로 아니야? 저기 실리콘으로 막아놨는데?
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
와, 소재를 아예 그냥 단단히 보이긴 했는데? 본드 같은.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit. After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
마스터키야?
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
동생이요?
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
호박을 먹는다. 곤주렌 챙겨 나왔다. 엄마 고기를 먹지 않겠지. 여기에 가둬놓은 거야? 와 너무 어둡다.
I kept eating and eating.
치약을 먹었다고?
I ate a lot of things that night.
먹어도 되는 거야? 아니 뭐 그래도 먹을 건 줘야 될 거야. 배고프다고 할 지경은.
My Halloween candy was all gone. Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her.
와 감금 수준인데? 애를 감금시켜놨다.
And suddenly, I was a cat.
What? 쟤 고양이야. 말도 안 돼.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
쟤 고양이가 되네. 너 여기.
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
저주받아서 고양이가 된 건가? 뭐야? 그거 하세요.
I jumped and I almost got her.
아 이거 그거 같은데? 고양이 애초에 고양이였던 거 아니야? 사람이 아니고.
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
뭐야? 장난 아니 상어가 되냐 갑자기? 아니
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
저 짐승이 되냐? 왜 이렇게 되는 걸까?
I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good. Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
여기다 그만.
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
There was no belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, early in the morning. Drunken sailor, drunken sailor, what shall we do with a drunken sailor?
Passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. I got closer and closer. All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
(1917년도에) 와씨 그런 이야기가 있었다 이 말.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
아, 새끼 고양이는 몰리였구나. 여자애가 아니고 새끼 고양이 입양했을 때 제가 몰리가 고양이 이름이야.
I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
무엇인가?
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity.
여기가 섬에 있는 주택인가 보네. 배 타고 가는 건가? 섬인가 보다.
I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
그건 좀 아닌데.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
무서워.
Her room was like a museum.
이게 방마다 하나씩 사연이 있는 것 같아. 방마다 하나씩, 방 하나씩 사연이 있는 것 같아.
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune.
지금 노르웨이 전체 인구 500년 동안 핀치 가문은 노르웨이 전체에서 행운과 불운의 문제로
Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan.
오딘 핀치는 가문적으로 가장 최근에 죽은 피해자들을 그의 아내 이네보르와 태어난 아들.
On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
집을 통째로 갖고 왔네? 조립식 주택인가? 집을 통째로 가져가네.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
가문에 뭔가 문제가 있는 집안이네. 핀치 가문.
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
화장실이 핑크네. 뭘 핑크인데?
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
와.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
인화실인데. 방이 다 연결돼.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him.
진짜 잘 만드네.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
사람이야.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did.
얘만 타라.
At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't.
아, 이거 양쪽으로 가야 되네.
I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready!
Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
이래도 발 다쳤는데. 진짜 죽은 거 같아. 너무 플래그.
The day he made up his mind to fly, and he didn't.
그냥 타다 날라가서 죽었네.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
그들이
After the
열심히 타다
funeral,
죽었네 그냥.
Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
아, 그래서 막았고. 근데 살아남은 사람이 없네 거의. 지금 죽은 건가?
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
입대하고 나서 전쟁으로 죽었나? 전쟁에서 공자가 된다고 하더라고. 그냥 타다가 죽어버렸네 날라가.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
와, 씨 깜짝이야. 진격어인 줄 알아. 세트장이네.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
바바라의 방이야? 바바라가
I never
살았던
thought
방이야.
about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
바바라의 죽음이 되나? 바바라 핀치
Old
놀라운
Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
영상
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
별로
You're right!
불량배들이
Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
비밀이 많은 집이냐? 아, 이거 할로윈 살인마 그러는데 그거잖아요. 19, 18 되는 살인마. 설마
She
지하실에
found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
손도 못 쓰고
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
갈고리 살인마? 유명한 살인마인데.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Rick?
절 뭐로 때려.
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm
뭐
furious.
때려버린다.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there?
왜 때렸나? 안 때렸으면 바뀌었어.
Okay, I'm coming up. But if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And he couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. She thought about abandoning Walter, but just couldn't do it. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet. Vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... Someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. Was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
Surprise! Bravo! You were wonderful!
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life.
진짜 괴물이었네.
I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
와우. 스토리가 충격적이야.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
아, 이 방이었고.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
다 잠겨있네.
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key. The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait. As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of. My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin. I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement.
와, 너무 어두운데? 지하실 가봐야겠다.
Maybe I should go check out that music box down by the basement.
손전등 같은 거 좀 가져오지.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
지하철. 냉장고 비밀이.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped.
언제까지 살았네? 여기 30년 동안 살았네.
Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly. And Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me.
30년 동안 이 집에 숨어 살아가지고 이제 그냥 나가려고 했나?
Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
며칠이나 죽었네.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
그림인데 이거 아까 풍경이 아니라 그림이잖아. 그림을 보라. 엄마야 퇴출하는 엔딩이.
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two. I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house? It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
한동안 뭐지?
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
가문이 저주를 받았네.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
성공이 결혼했나 보네.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
Shouldn't we be leaving?
Just want to get a shot of you, Dawn, then we can take off. Not quite.
I'm over here, Dad.
Just need to get a shot of you, Dawn, then we can hit the road.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
Definitely should not have drunk.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious.
Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Don, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. You don't need to waste any more film on me, kiddo. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map. Let's see. Maybe. What was it? It could have been.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay? Sorry, Don. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
헐. 저렇게 죽었어? 와.
Of all these
확인 탓을
stories,
했어야지.
that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
와, 어이없게 죽었네. 사슴이 죽은 줄 알았는데 살짝 살아있어가지고 완전히 죽지 않아서 물에 들이받아갖고 떨어져 죽었네. 존나 어이없게 진짜 현실적인 죽음이다. 와, 쌤이 저렇게 죽으면 딸이랑 사냥하러 나갔다가 확인사살 안 한 채로 사슴 죽은 줄 알고 갔다가 물에 들이받아가지고 배란에 떨어져 죽어버렸어.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something. Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it. After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
애기도 죽었어.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
애기 시절.
I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
이거 보지 못하고 이거 볼 수 있어.
That's over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like.
다들 메모리 장난감 조정할 수 있는 거.
He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw. It sure made him happy. I know how silly it sounds. That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slip
자기가
away.
계속 다녔어.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could.
자기가 사라졌네.
Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything.
써야 되나 봐. 개구리가 된 게 아니라 싸운 거 같은데.
But I know what happened wasn't your fault.
빨려 들어갔나 봐.
I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be
개구리가
happy.
돼서 물에 빨려 들어갔나.
Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
애기가 죽었어. 어렵게 죽었네.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
죽었나?
She never talked about him, but
바람
Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name
날리냐.
me Gus.
안 날리게 다 죽었나 봐.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
꼭대기인데 여기가 그 밖에서 봤을 때 제일 꼭대기인 것 같아.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
사라졌고.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
밀턴이라는 애가 붓으로 문을 그렸는데 문으로 들어가서 갑자기 사라졌고 실체가 되고.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
물담배 한데.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery, I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen Queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
충전 공장에서 일하는 걸 싫어했는데 어쩔 수 없어서 일한 거지. 비린내 나고 넓은 데서
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
통조리 공장에서 머리 잘렸나 보다. 머리에 집어넣나 봐. 손은 잘린 게 머리에 집어넣나 본데.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
홍자련 공장에서 일하다가 사고로 죽었나 보다. 그나마 내 새끼인가 보다. 내가 느끼고 있네.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
최상층인가 봐.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom said the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
여기에 있구만.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
집을 떠난다고 저주가 풀리는 건 아니야.
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories! I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I started seeing things I'd forgotten had ever existed.
아무것도 안 보이는데 어쩌다 안 보여.
But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
엄마 아픈가?
She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive.
마지막으로 살아남은 핀치가.
Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
나한테 말하는 플레이한테 말하는 건가?
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
에디스핀치. 저 아이는 에디스핀치 아들이었어요. 그리고 저희 둘이 뭘 했길래 저 가문 좀 다 죽어야 되는 거지? 좀 이거 사실 실제로 일어난 실화 같은데? 실화인데 이거? 비극적이다. 뭐지? 엔딩 크레딧이요? 엔딩 크레딧인가 보다. 이거 제작진 개발자들이랑 제작한 사람들 어렸을 때 사진인가 보다. 던 그레고리. 개발자들, 제작진들 어렸을 때 사진을 갖다 붙여놓은 거. 사운드 디렉터, 컴포서, 사운드 디자인. 약간 열린 캐나멜 같은데. 근데 아마 주인공 아까 거기서 잠들면서 죽은 것 같아. 그리고 아까 임신했었다 했었으니까 과거에 자손이 있는 거고 자기 새끼가 있는 거고. 걔가 묘지에 주문 왔나 보네.